Hi, this is Dean, and this is a video on diminished chords as played on a cello. And a diminished chord is a chord that isn't quite the right one. A regular chord would have a root and a third, a minor third or a major third, and then we have a fifth above the, in this case, a G. So you can make a really nice, perfect fifth when you play the root and the fifth. And that is called a triad. Sorry, trying to think of the word. And this one was a G minor triad. And on a cello, if we use our first finger for whatever note is the root of a chord, then we would put our first finger right across to get the fifth. Wherever you want to go, you can find that. The finger pattern is always the same for a minor triad. We can also make a chord that uses one more note. So far we have three notes, a root, a third, and a fifth. And we could do one more and we could add a seventh. And that would be a minor third above the fifth. And that would be called a 7 chord. And a diminished chord then is where we take the fifth and we diminish it by a half step. And diminished means lowering. In this case, usually in English, diminished means taking something down a little bit. Diminished earnings would mean that you made less money. Diminished potential. There's another one. All right, so if we were to diminish our fifth, in this case a D, we would have to go back a half step to there. So now we have a triangle. Instead of being right across, we now have a triangle that goes back. And then if we play both notes at the same time, we get that British ambulance sound. And that is the interval itself. You can call it a diminished fifth, like, what's interval is that? Is that a fourth or a third or whatever? And it also has a special name, and that is the tritone, because it is made up of 3 whole steps. There's a whole step. There's a whole step. There's another whole step. So this Lego block, if we want to call them Lego blocks, is a rather large one. So with 3 whole steps, we don't normally do that in music, and it creates this terrible sound, which nobody likes, and so naturally composers use it to great effect. Nobody likes it, including the Catholic Church, which didn't exactly outlaw it in its sacred music in the Middle Ages, but it definitely discouraged it. It was known as the devil's interval. So anyway, if we wanted to make a minor diminished G minor chord, we would do, and that would be a diminished chord. And if we add the 7th to it, we would then make up a minor third above the D flat, and that would be an E natural. So here is our diminished chord. wanted. And we could keep on going up and up the cello. But for now, that is all we need to do. So a diminished chord figures in the end of Book 4 in the minuet, the Bach minuet, in the end of the second minuet that goes. So you can hear it. It's a rather unstable chord. We don't really know what it's going to do, where it's going to go. So the fingering for a diminished chord on the cello is pretty easy. It is, well, minor thirds are always a 1 to 4 in the lower positions, of course. And it would not be an extension, it would be regular. And then because we have to move back to catch the diminished fifth, we now just go 1, 4 again. And if we wanted to do the next octave, it would be just like that, and then the next one. So if we wanted to chart out on a cello chart what it looks like for the diminished F-sharp minor diminished chord in the Bach suite, it would look like this here. You can see it's the one on your right, I believe. Well, it says F-sharp minor, so whatever that is to you, left or right. I would imagine it would be to your right. And you can see that you could just draw a straight line from all of the first finger notes, and you could draw a straight line for all of the fourth finger notes too. They all just kind of spider walk their way down the cello. So let's try that once. So let's find an F sharp on the C string. Where is an F sharp? Goodness knows, I don't know. So here's one. We first find a G. That's our ringing tone. So now we have our thumb and our second finger. We are in third position. So then all we need to do is go 1, 4, do a spider walk back. And by that I mean you walk your first finger back, and then you release your hand and it springs into lower third position. And then we do it again and it springs into upper second position. And then we do it again and it springs into first position. No, lower second, sorry. Anyway, let's try that out. Here is F sharp, so here we go. Counting to 2 for every note. Here we go. Now let's go back down. Stretching up. And there you have the F sharp diminished minor chord. And it is most important to learn that for the beginning of Book 5 when we have a Vivaldi sonata. Which one is it? It is Sonata in E minor, which many cellists play. I remember playing it when I was a kid. And in the 3/8 Allegro, that's the last movement, we have things like, for instance, in measure 28, right after the repeat sign. And there we had a diminished chord that was, in the next measure we had a G, E, C sharp, and then A sharp. So I drew that one out. And it is the one that says A sharp diminished minor on it. Well, it doesn't say minor, but that's what it is. And you can see that, maybe you can see that it is in half position. I wrote it in with like pink marker or pink pen. And that's because you could do it there. But in this instance, we go up to 4th and a half or 5th position. We do it there. But they're the same notes, the same pitches. And as you know on the cello, that there's more than one way to play a certain pitch. So let us do the A sharp minor arpeggio. We're just going to do those 4 notes. So we should probably find an A. This is an A. And now we'll move up to A sharp. And now I am in measure number 29. No, I'm at, well, 30. You can see the A sharp in measure 30, and I'm going to just take and move backwards. A sharp, and then I will do C sharp, and then a spider walk back to E, and then a 4th finger G. So reading backwards from the first note in measure 30. So here we go. A sharp, C sharp, E, G, back down. So that's how that works. If you want, we can also do it in the lower octave. Again, the fingering is pretty much the same. Instead of going over here, which is a little awkward, we could do it here on these strings here, on the G string. So let's try that out. Remember, A sharp is the same as B flat, so we find a 2nd finger B flat, and then we'll put our finger on that, and we'll call it A sharp. So now we have 1st finger on A sharp, and here we go. A sharp, C sharp, spider walk back to E, G, up to 5th position, and there you have it. It also appears in measure number 54. Well, yeah, in 54. But we're going to use a different fingering for that, so I don't think we need to talk about it. But if you go to measure 54, 55, 56, you can see that we have the outline of a diminished chord. Right? It's the A diminished minor chord there. So we should make note of that. Let's just do that one time. So we are going to have to do a, not exactly a spider walk, it's just completely a hop, because we're using our 1st finger for D sharp. And then that finger has to do that walk up to A. So let's try that once, and then we'll say that's probably good enough. So here we are in measure 54, 5, 56. Here we go. I guess I did it twice. The second time I see it's written as a open A string. So let's do it again, and I'll do the right fingering this time. Here we go. Sorry, I went to the wrong note. And in the book I see that it is printed 2nd finger A, but because you have been practicing your diminished chords with a standard fingering of 1-4, 1-4, you don't really need to do 2nd finger. You already know how to do it the other way. All right, that is my little sermon on diminished chords, and I hope that helps you out, and I will see you later.